Representative Chester Burton.
Here.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Pollock.
Here.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Present. We do have a quorum. Constituted to do business. First item on the agenda is consideration of the minutes of the June 11th meeting of the committee. Is there a motion that be considered approved? There's a motion and a second. Motion by Representative Pollock, seconded by Senator Douglas. Please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Here.
Senator Douglas.
Both out. You're not calling.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Total number of items on the agenda today are 1,358 in the amount of $1,455,742,392.60. All vendors are now registered with the Secretary of State's office. First, we'll take up the deferred list, which is Personnel Office of Secretary, and is number 309 on the June PSE green list. If representatives are here, please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning, committee. My name is Alan Hurst. I'm with the Office of Employee Relations in the Personnel Cabinet, and I oversee the Workers' Compensation Program.
And I am Rosemary Holbrook. I'm the General Counsel in the Office of Legal Services.
Appreciate you both being available to us this morning. Need to take just a couple of minutes to bring the committee members up to speed as to why this contract has been pulled. As I was reflecting on this, I realized that I'm the only member of this committee that was here when this was first challenged in 2018. So to give you a little background on this, many of you may recall that this firm was awarded a contract under some very challenging situations. Their lobbyist was convicted of a federal crime for bribing the personnel cabinet back during the Steve Beshear administration. And I'm sure we don't have to go into a lot of detail into that. Both men that were involved in this were sentenced, served terms in federal prison. And the particular situation was that in the original bid, this firm's bid was $200,000 higher than the other firm that was responded to the RFP. Again, there were only two firms, I believe, that were submitting this back in 2016. And the Director of Personnel Cabinet was asked, well, what do we have to do to get this contract? And he shared that they had to lower the price of the contract by $200,000 and provide some money, which was then used to transfer to candidates running for office. As part of this firm was also cited by the Legislative Ethics Commission, Legislative Executive Ethics Commission, for 14 violations of the Code of Ethics. Instead of going through a lengthy trial on this, they agreed that they would settle for $50,000. My objection to this was first that I think because of the result of their action, they should not have been considered for renewal of this contract. When I challenged this, and again, this goes back to 2018 and 2020 as well, I asked at that time who had the low bid for the contract for its renewal. And again, this company did not have the low bid, but they had the best bid. Now, we know what that means is that within the RFP, there's some parameters that you have to address, and they're graded. Personally, I think it's kind of a subjective process, but it is what it is. But they awarded the contract again. When this came up for renewal in 2022, and I've been very vociferous about this, I haven't hidden my concern about this, but just prior to the meeting, a representative for this firm's office came to visit with me along with two lobbyists, and he was trying to sell me on what a great job they've done for the Commonwealth. And I said, that's not the issue for me. It's the nature by which you were awarded this contract originally. You were privy to private information that you shouldn't have received, and you adjusted your bid, and I don't think that's the best interest of the Commonwealth. And he told me that if this contract was not renewed, that they would sue me personally. I raised this objection when it came back to this committee with people from the personnel cabinet, and the response was, well, this is pretty much your word against his, even though I had two witnesses to that charge. So here we are again with this contract up for renewal, and I think there's just some very unusual circumstances that warrant some consideration of this. So folks, again, I appreciate you being with us this morning, but my first question for you is, how long has this company had this contract?
Sure, Senator Meredith, and thank you so much for your questions this morning. So my understanding, this goes well before my time, was this was first awarded to them through an RFP process in 2005. But one thing I'd like to state just for the contract before us right now is this was not a renewal. There was an optional renewal on the table, but at that point, I decided not to exercise that optional renewal. I wanted to see if there was anything else out there, that would benefit the Commonwealth. So we did not exercise that renewal. The contract that's before you today has been put through the RFP process again. We had 5 vendors. And so I just want to clear that up to begin with. This was not a renewal. We've gone through the RFP process again and followed all the parameters of 45A, including all the various evaluation criteria you referenced.
In this particular RFP, did they have the low bid or did they have the best bid?
So they were, do you mean in terms of cost, sir?
Yes.
They were second in cost by very little, and actually, but they were much higher in the total evaluation criteria. But because of that, after the fact, we were able to enter negotiations of the contract because they had the highest score. And then after negotiations, they were the lowest cost.
And the term of this contract will be 2 years?
Yes, sir. It's 2 years with 2 optional 2-year renewals, same as the last contract. But again, the last contract, I did not exercise that last 2-year renewal, and we put it out for RFP again. And we did get 2 additional vendors that responded, as opposed to last time. I believe we had 3 vendors that responded in 2020. Now we had 5.
Well, that's another
It's a small industry.
Appreciate you bringing that up, because that's another part of concern I have. If with the history of this thing, and they go back to 2005, and they were awarded a contract even though the lobbyists ended up being sentenced to prison, and they were cited for 14 ethics violation, which they agreed to settle upon. We continue to do business with this company. I think it sends a strong message to a lot of other potential vendors of, well, why bother? Because we're not going to get the contract anyway. So that's one of my concerns. How is this firm compensated?
So they are compensated through administrative fees. So none of the costs on the contract, you look there and it says, $50,900,000. None of those are guaranteed costs. In fact, approximately 48 million of that is claims costs that are paid out to protect our state employees, be they correctional officers, all the volunteer firefighters across the state. This actually reimburses them and pays for those injuries. They have an administrative fee cost, which again, that's not guaranteed monies, but that's monies that comes from the charges that we have a fee schedule. And when they are administering the claims, going through that, that's how they are funded or paid.
Well, one of the complaints I've heard is that they do not settle claims on a timely basis, which as a result of that, with these open claims, it increases their compensation. Is that fair?
I wouldn't think that's fair. I think that's a complaint you're going to hear from everybody who manages a TPA in the workers' compensation industry. Is we want every claim to be closed as quickly as possible to lower those administrative fees. That's certainly a big part of my duty. Is I'm monitoring and auditing claims to make sure they're progressing. I'll say that right now our claim count is amongst the lowest it's ever been. There's a variety of factors for that, but we stay diligent to make sure the claims get closed as soon as possible so that we can reduce those administrative fees and save Commonwealth funds.
So how do they compare to industry standards, if there are industry standards?
I would not know if there were industry standards, sir, so I wouldn't be able to answer that question. I could do some research and look into that, But I will say that's just going to be a common complaint you hear across the board because everybody wants to lower their administrative fee costs. And, every state government and large municipality in the country uses a third-party administrator. And, you want to get these claims. Workers' comp is a volume game. You get a lot of claims. You want to get them open and closed quick, get our injured workers paid and back to work as soon as possible.
Well, I know it's kind of a relative measurement, but again, how do you know they're doing a good job? Who do you compare them with? Who do you compare them to?
So the only thing I can do to make sure that they're doing a good job is I want to make sure that our state employees are taken care of. And so I make sure that these claims are administered in a way that costs are being paid for, employees are, being given the benefits that they are due under KRS Chapter 342. There are a lot of audits we perform. But in terms of any type of an industry standard, that's something I just can't speak to today. I can speak to the contract in front of me, but I'm not aware of any particular industry standard.
Well, I know we're still funded program, but I wonder if
Correct.
any consideration has been given to a different approach altogether. By the work of this legislature, the Kentucky Employee Mutual Insurance Company was established.
That's correct.
Specifically workers' compensation. Has that ever been explored as possibly a relationship with those folks where we wouldn't even need this firm?
But my understanding is that the idea of looking into not even having a TPA altogether was floated out there way back in the past, but it would just be a huge cost detriment to the Commonwealth. We'd have to hire at least 15 very specialized positions. And then you lose some of the benefit that these TPAs have within the industry in terms of medical billing, in terms of utilization review, in terms of their IT functionality, that it's just very difficult to replicate out of whole cloth.
Well, part of my concern with the process that we use of not accepting the low bid but accepting the best bid is I find that a lot of people just don't want to change because it requires some effort, requires some additional upfront expense, but it could potentially save money. So I don't like best bids. I think we should stick with low bids, but I understand that's part of our model procurement code. But
and I can assure you, Senator, that was not a concern here, or else I would have exercised that optional renewal. I just wanted to see what was out there to the benefit of the Commonwealth. And I will say, it had nothing to do with their performance under the contract. I just am always looking for the best way to benefit the Commonwealth and save money for our workers' compensation program if we can.
Well, obviously that's a charge of this committee as well, and that's why we're examining this today. But
appreciate that.
Again, I want to go back to 2016 where they became privy to what should have been privileged information, and for whatever reason was shared with them, and provided funding to candidates, which should have been in violation, was in violation of campaign finance laws. And as part of 45A, our model procurement code, we call for a written determination of the bidder that they have not violated any provision of the campaign finance laws, and that the award of the contract to the bidder will not violate any provisions of the campaign finance law. Did they sign such a statement previously?
So I cannot remember the specifics at this time. I will say I was testifying before you in 2020 when this issue first came up, and we had ran that by the finance cabinet to make sure they were still an eligible vendor who could apply for the contract. Again, this is nothing to say with I just looked at the contract in front of me. My understanding is that at the time they signed a statement that's saying basically they admitted no guilt, but they paid a fine under, I believe, 11A. But any more than that, I'm speaking outside of my depth, and I'd be reluctant to do so.
I recall that very well, that your position was, well, they weren't convicted of anything, so they're still eligible for contract, which, again, I take issue with because this particular provision, and within the law, it says that the vendor knew or should have known that personnel acting on their behalf was engaging in this behavior. And they acknowledged they didn't. Well, that's no excuse because they should have been aware of that. So it's also obviously a violation of this provision. So I don't know how this builds public confidence in our procurement process when these things occur. And just quite candidly, as a former hospital CEO, if I had a vendor that acted inappropriately, I want to distance myself as far away from them as I possibly can, because again, the lack of public confidence that exists whenever you continue to reward this kind of behavior. Senator Thomas, you have a question, comment about this?
I do have a comment, Senator Meredith. And let me begin by saying that I do appreciate your recitation of history. I always think history is important, so I can appreciate that. But a couple of things come to mind. As a person who does services with contractors, I'm more interested in the quality of work that they perform rather than the cost of the work. And so I've always approved of the statute in the Model Procurement Code that calls for the best services, because I just think that's important. I'm having some work done now on my home in Lexington, and I'm sure I could have gotten a contractor that would have done it more cheaply, but I'm interested in the quality and the beauty of the work, not having the work done in a very cheap form. So I think that is important to say that we want the best services, not necessarily the cheapest, most ineffective services. The second point is that I haven't heard, as I listened to you and listened to the gentleman on the screen in front of us, I haven't heard anything that says that the work that they're doing now is ineffective or is poorly done. If what they've done, particularly in light of the pandemic over the last 5 years, is what they've done high quality work, sufficient work, then to me that's what's most important. Are they doing a good job for this state? Not necessarily are they the cheapest provider of services. So that's just my take as I review this contract today. I'm looking at what they've done in the recent past, and are they doing a good job?
Well, I think your points are well taken, Senator. But again, one of the points I'm trying to make is we don't know whether they're doing a good job or not, because again, apparently they don't know industry standards. And I've heard complaints that claims do not get resolved on a timely basis. And again, I know that's very subjective, but cost and quality are certainly important. But I don't know if there's anything more important than the integrity of a firm in dealing business with anyone. Because if someone will cheat on one area, will they cheat on another area? And that's the point I'm trying to make. I think they eroded public confidence when they engage this behavior. And I think that if we approve these contracts, then we're saying that type of behavior is acceptable, and it causes the public to lose confidence in our state government. And again, it concerns me greatly that people have not raised more issues about this, because once you lose credibility, it's very rarely regained. It also concerns me that the personnel cabinet, when I reported that their representative, who also happened to be, I believe, an unregistered lobbyist, and they were cited for that one as well, but when he threatened to sue me personally if his contract was not renewed, that there wasn't more concern and consternation from the personnel cabinet than what I heard, other than, well, it's your word against his, even though I had two witnesses.
Senator Meredith, on that point, I was in that committee meeting, and I don't believe we did not say that it was your word against his word. I believe my comment at the time was that we were not present in that conversation between you and the lobbyist, and it was not appropriate for us to comment.
Well, you're wordsmithing now, and I don't want to get into that. But again, if any legislator brings that kind of charge before any cabinet within this state government, I think that would cause bells and whistles to go off, and apparently it wasn't a concern to anyone. But I'm
just one point is I want to say I'm saying I'm doing nothing here in defense of any activity of lobbyists or any of that nature. I'm just here today to defend the personnel cabinet's adherence to Chapter 45A in the Kentucky Model Procurement Code in terms of this contract that we just recently bid out. I just want to make that clear for the record.
Well, if we're going to say 45A, I'll go back to some original provisions that its purpose of this code is to provide to increase public confidence in the procurement process and to ensure fair and equitable treatment of all persons. And because of the behavior that was engaged in, that's been violated. And I think that in itself would preclude this company from being, conclude this company from being considered for renewal. But again, that's my position. Senator Douglas, you have a comment, question?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Short comment, please. One of the things I really want our public to understand is that as a committee, we do look at quality and we do look at cost. What we do with our own personal money, if we want to spend more on something, that's our own personal business. When we're dealing with the money that the people of the Commonwealth are giving us, they expect us to be cost effective with what they are giving us to distribute. You know, something that costs less doesn't necessarily mean that it is cheap or it is ineffectual. It doesn't. I don't think we need to buy $5,000 military toilet seats here in the Commonwealth. So I don't want to hear those arguments very much. Our job is to represent the people that we are elected to represent in the best way that we can. And it is our job to balance cost versus quality, and not just always strive for the, quote, highest quality. We can go for the highest quality for what's effective for what we need. And I don't want anyone out there listening to this to get this idea that this committee is about spending your money to get the highest quality of everything when something else will qualify at a lesser price. We really are looking out for you all here in the Commonwealth. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Thomas, you have a follow-up
Douglas,
question?
I agree completely. That's why upon negotiations, I really try to be a strong steward of those monies, and they were the lowest cost upon contractual negotiations.
Senator Thomas, you have a follow-up question, comment?
Well, one of the things, yes, I do. I've listened to Senator Douglas, and it must be noted that under the Model Procurement Code, there's a score that all contractors have to reach. And that score includes a number of issues. It includes quality of work, history, cost of work. There are a whole number of factors that go into that score. And that score is significant because that score weighs all critical factors that must be taken into account by a contractor in determining the best work. Okay, cost is only one of those. Okay, but cost is not the only one. And that best score says for the cost we're going to pay, this is the highest, most efficient company or contractor that's going to do that work. So while I agree with Senator Douglas that you just don't want to spend money, without any kind of consideration and without any kind of care for the public, at the same time, you want to balance all factors that are important to give you the most efficient and best service product for the people of Kentucky. And this, as this gentleman indicated, if they had the highest score, that's saying based upon all the contractors that bid, they came out most favorably in terms of providing the best service for the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I want people to understand that. The highest score means that you're going to provide the best service for the people of Kentucky. And I accept what this gentleman is saying.
Well, again, I'm not arguing cost or quality. I'm arguing the point that the company did not act in good faith when they were awarded the contract in 2016. In a specific provision of our model procurement code is that every contract or duty under this code shall impose an obligation of good faith in its performance or enforcement. Good faith shall mean honesty in fact in the conduct or transaction concerned in the observance of reasonable commercial standards of fair dealing. And they violated that provision, and we continue to choose to ignore it. And that's of concern to me. If people want to compromise their credibility, that's certainly okay with me, but I don't want to see mine compromised, and I think supporting this contract continues to do that. Again, I think it's a violation of the Code of Ethics, should have been addressed years ago, and anyone who's a beneficiary of those illegal payments that were made should be renouncing this as well, but I don't hear that, but I'm not going to belabor the point. I know that this is a Don Quixote moment that regardless of what we do, the Finance Cabinet's going to have the final say on this, but I think it's a travesty of justice, and again, it's a tarnishment upon the procurement process and anybody who approves these contracts. But with that, I'll entertain a motion one way or the other. Or we can take no action, and it just proceeds.
Well, I'll make the motion, Senator Meredith.
Motion to, excuse me, what's your motion, Senator?
I guess the motion is to approve the contract.
Okay.
Is that what, am I making a motion to approve the contract?
Motion to approve. Is there a second? There being no second, is there any other motion? There being none, then we'll take no action on this contract and we'll proceed to the Finance Cabinet for final disposition. And thank you all for being available to us this morning.
Thank you all for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Next order of business is consideration of the agenda, including the deferred list, personal service contract list, personal service contract amendment list, memorandum of agreement list, memorandum of agreement amendment list, and the Kentucky Entertainment Incentive Program agreement list, and the corrections list, except for those items selected for further review. Do we have a motion to consider the contracts reviewed without objection?
Motion.
Motion by Senator Douglas. Is there a second? Second by Representative Pollock. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. First item on the pool list is with the Academy for Health and Family Services. Office of the Secretary is number 37 on the PSC green list. If representatives are here, and I see that he is, please come forward. Identify yourself for the record.
This contract and another one under Medicaid are very similar. My name is Eric Friedland. I'm Secretary of the Cabinet for Health and Family Services.
Lisa Lee, Commissioner for the Department for Medicaid Services. Astrid Masterson, Office of Administrative Services.
I appreciate you being here this morning. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. And I agree with you in both these contracts. I think the concern are similar, so we'll discuss them in tandem here, but I'll allow Senator Douglas to proceed first. Unless you prefer I proceed first.
Would you? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just trying to get some things here together. Would you explain to us delivery orders?
Sure. Thank you for having me today. This contract is one that we started 2 years ago. And it is a contract that we put out an RFP for folks to be able to respond. We had 10 respondents, actually under both contracts, they're not the exact same list, of folks who would be able to do work for the Cabinet for Health and Family Services on a variety of topics. And those folks who responded range all the way from like folks you might know, like a Milliman and Ernst & Young, Mathematica, whatever that one.
Altair.
Sorry. So a whole group of folks that replied. The delivery orders are set up. We call them an IPR, which is an internal request. And so what we do is those 10 folks who responded to the contract will put out, we need something. An example I can give you is under House Bill 7. We were asked to do a quick report on presumptive eligibility and one on SNAP. we put out basically this request for assistance in helping us work on that report, get the information for that report, help us put that report together. These contracts have been really, really great additions for us, really helped our capacity. So what we've been able to do is supplement what we do at the Cabinet for Health and Family Services with some expertise that as we maybe do a contract or as we do a report on the presumptive eligibility, we had a group help us with the unwind process in terms of helping us with project management. We've used these contracts in that way. So a delivery order will write up, sorry, your question. The delivery order will write up what we need. For instance, on the unwind, we needed some on the Medicaid unwind process. We needed some assistance on project management, helping us identify what the timelines were, basically what the strategic plan document might look like, and give us delivery dates to make sure things like our IT systems could need whatever change orders we would need to put in, compliance with federal guidelines, those kinds of things to help us do that. Then one of these group will respond to that request. That they'll come in, they'll give us their proposals, and they will then we'll select the one that we think best met what we were asking for.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. If I may,
Okay,
I apologize for interrupting you, but we only have so
Sorry.
much time. Mr. Chair, may I ask one more question?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My second question is this. We have very similar things going on every year. What is the learning curve for the people who are already employed in the Cabinet for Health and Family Services in terms of learning to do these things? Because we're essentially looking at a $30 million contract here. And if we're looking at a $30 million contract every year, I'm trying to figure out why we don't have personnel in our cabinet who can learn from this information, and we can and keep this in-house so that we're not asking for $30 million a year to do something that we essentially do every year. Maybe you can help me with that, sir. Thank you.
I appreciate that question. I think there are a couple of responses to that. One is we've asked for a variety of different things. Unwind. I'm going to get way down in the weeds. Targeted case management, presumptive eligibility. We've asked for this variety of different topics. So it actually isn't the same each year. It's usually something different. Sometimes there's been a mix of new things that we've been doing.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, are they similar? I mean, there are only so many varieties of apples.
Temporary project.
There just are.
Yeah.
In the healthcare space, in my 40 years, there are a lot of different diagnoses, but we begin to see them over and over when you start losing your hair and getting gray hair like me. It's just the way it is. And truly, I'm asking this question not to put you, and you know that, Mr. Secretary.
I do, and I do appreciate the question.
I'm trying to figure out why we always spend this much money when we have people that we employ who will work with these consultants, because we're actually talking about a consultant contracts. Some of these consultant contracts make me lose more hair than I need to lose. When we repeat things over the years in the Commonwealth, because we have a way things work, and I just don't understand why we can't, why the learning curve for the people that we already employ is not being employed to learn these activities and how to do these activities, so that we're not always paying outside consultants. Is that?
I think that's a fair point. Okay. What I will tell you is, oftentimes these are so different in terms of new federal regulations. Sometimes we get, sometimes, first, we don't always we've never spent the full 30, right? We're out like usually third of that. But second, there are times when having an outside consultant and a fresh set of eyes from somebody who hasn't learned from the person they took the job over from is extremely helpful. And being able to bring in outside perspective of what other states are doing has been extremely helpful. I will grant you that what we need to do is work on the skill set, particularly within project management. I think those are pieces that we hopefully are learning, but we've got a ways to go to make sure that that skill set is embedded in our organizations. And the last point, and I don't mean to belabor this because we've done a lot, and you all have done a lot for state employees over the past several years. We're still, as you look at some of those high-end project management, high-end IT, that type of consultation, and the integration of that policy in IT, we're still probably at that high end, not terribly competitive. And that's just, it's not, I'm not trying to cast dispersions on anybody because I'm not.
No, I understand.
It is helpful to be able to have access to that.
Well, thank you. Thank you so very much for answering the question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. My concern's along the same line, and not to preach to you folks, but just want to remind you of what our responsibilities are. Is first, examine the stated need for the service or benefit the Commonwealth. Examine whether the service could or should be performed by state personnel for personal service contracts and MOAs. Examine the amount and duration of the contract or agreement. Examine the appropriateness of exchange of resources for responsibilities. And when I see bundled contracts such as this, my position is we can't do any of those duties because we don't know why you're spending this money other than for consulting contracts, which is great. But I don't know why, if you have a need, that you can't execute a contract specific to that need rather than us giving you, in essence, I don't mean this to be an insult, but in essence, a $30 million blank check to buy services. Because again, none of these, I don't know how we can validate that these things are happening the way they should happen.
Right. And we have sent and will continue to send kind of the monthly updates as we engage folks, and we're happy to continue that and will. And secondly, I will tell you these contracts, and I understand your perspective. These contracts have really worked well for us in terms of speed of getting assistance, in terms of probably saving staff time. I think these, and the addition of expertise, I think helped us perform our jobs better. And so I view these contracts, and again, I understand you have a different perspective. But these contracts have been tremendously successful for us to get the expertise we need in a timely fashion, really targeted, very short term. And all of these are temporary pieces. These are not things that go on for years and years. So that my perspective is, right, that they have been really, really helpful for us.
You bring up the concern I have is some of these contracts do go on for years and years and years. And we've seen many instances where they provide a report, and one of the recommendation report is we need to do more work, or we've got these specific things that need to be accomplished, and we'll be glad to do that for you for an additional fee. And again, this doesn't allow us to do our job if we just give carte blanche privilege to spend millions of dollars. And I appreciate they may have value to you, but you ever had a bad contract?
We have.
Yeah. By any of these groups?
I believe there are some that we have had better experience with than others. I wouldn't say bad, but some have been better than others. And a lot of times, unfortunately, that's on us in terms of how we manage the vendor.
Well, let me ask again. I know that you want to do these things as efficiently and as productively as you can, but what's the objection that if you have a specific need for a consulting service, that there's not an RFP for that specific request, that we go through that process and it comes back to this committee for us to review and approve or disapprove?
We will continue sending you all the information. It's timing. It's how quickly we can get in the staff effort to do that, and the ability to bring folks in quickly, because these are all usually very time limited and very targeted.
Well, and I appreciate that you provide us that information, but quite candidly, we're getting that in retrospect, and that falls into that purview of retroactive contract renewals, which I don't like. Okay. Senator Thomas?
You know, like you said, Chairman Emeritus, you know, I'm trying to get out of here too, because I've got 2 meetings today, and I don't want to spend all our day, you know, going back and forth. But Dr. Freelander, one thing I've noticed about your cabinet is you're now in your 2nd term, and I just haven't heard any complaints or problems about what's going on in your large operation. I'm just curious if you can just in 30 seconds to a minute talk about all the complexities that you have there at CHFS, because you are the largest cabinet by far, and you have the most items or areas that you have to deal with. Medicaid obviously is the largest one and the most important to this state, because as Senator Meredith himself has said several times, that we are a state that relies heavily on Meredith. So can you just briefly the complexities that you have to deal with every day in your cabinet as secretary of your cabinet?
I'll do it as best I can. Anything from the next biggest to Medicaid is DCBS and child welfare, which has been a topic of many conversations and will continue to be. Senator Carroll's done a lot of work around on that, as well as then so that's all the child welfare, which is always incredibly difficult and very challenging. And you know, when we don't get a call right on child welfare, either when we remove a child, which there are some folks that say we should never remove a child, the trauma that occurs to parent and family is tremendous. When we don't remove a child and then something happens to that child, the consequences are that's a tragedy. And we're faced with that every day. And there are folks that say we don't remove enough kids, right? So there's all that complexity that like the everyday social workers have to face, as well as then childcare and behavioral health and substance use and people with intellectual and developmental delays. And let's not forget COVID and public health and Dr. Stack.
I was going to go there. Let's not forget public health.
Yeah, as well as aging and disabilities, family resource centers, AmeriCorps. You know, it's a complex cabinet. Senator Meredith, you've had several hearings on the complexity of CHFS, and also when we meet with you, I try to go over that with you all as well. And I think it's important to have that complexity, frankly, and I think it allows programs to work together that I believe in other states just don't.
And as I read this contract, and I'll be quick, Senator Meredith, what you're looking for in this consulting contract is the best practices to manage that myriad of items and areas that you must deal with on a daily basis.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Freelander.
Like that term best practices, because we hear it so often, and it's amazing how we'll hear from one cabinet about best practices that we're pursuing, then the next year we hear a new set of best practices. So I think best practices are sort of like the unicorn. It's just kind of elusive, but again, this is not questioning your all's leadership ability, because I've got complete confidence in all of you, but I don't know how we can actually bundle these contracts. We're talking about spending $60 million without really knowing how this is going to be spent, other than very broad and global terms that we're going to spend them in the best interest of the Commonwealth. Well, how do we do that? Well, those four things I mentioned that are our responsibility, if someone says, do these contracts do that? I don't know. I can't know. And again, that's my objection, but anyone else have anything for the good of the cause? If not, I'd entertain a motion for approval of contract 37 and 41. Is there a motion?
Well, again, I'll make the motion.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Representative Chester Burton. All in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell,
Aye.
Senator Douglas,
I vote aye. Explain my vote, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
You know, we often talk about, and Secretary, Mr. Secretary, you know, I have all the confidence in the world in you. We've had these conversations. And I pointed out that I think you do your job extremely well. But we talk about success, and I'm not sure how we define success. Is success bringing more people into the fold? Or is success meant to get resolution and education so that the numbers requiring this type of help actually go down? I don't think we define success very well. I think it depends on which side of the fence you're on, whether you're needing the services or whether you're paying for the services. Or I should say, whether you're wanting the services or whether you're paying for the services. And you and I have had that discussion. So, I just want to make it clear, and you know that I'm behind you 100%. And I'm also behind you in working to make sure that we can define success in a way that those who are receiving the services are satisfied, and those who are paying for the services also feel that they are getting what they should get for the hours, the days, and the weeks they spend away from their families to make an income to support their families. And they are also willing to contribute part of that to help someone else do better. We have to keep those things in mind. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas,
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to explain my vote.
Yes, please.
Dr. Freelander, if you were doing a David Letterman top 10, you have one of the 10 toughest jobs in this state, no question about it. Mm-hmm. And as I look over the last 5 years, you stayed out of the press, which is always, from my vantage point, a good thing. You don't hear much criticism about CHFS. You see, you're very effective. You are managing your job very well. I understand that things change. Laws change, regulations change. And you got to stay on top of that. With the complexity of everything you do. So if you say to me that I need a consulting contract to make sure I can continue to manage my agency well, and I look at the massive complexity of your cabinet, then again, I'm going to defer to your judgment. Given the quality of what you've done, I'm going to say fine, because keep doing what you're doing. So for all of that reason, I vote aye.
Representative Chester Burton,
Yes.
Representative McCool,
Yes.
Representative Pollock,
Yes. Can I make a comment just real quick? Thank you, Dr. Freelander. Sounds like you got a really good team around you.
I do. Yes.
Thank you.
Representative Hart, Senator Meredith,
I'm going to no, but I'll explain my vote. Again, it's got nothing to do with the lack of performance by you or your team. I have great confidence in you as well and appreciate the relationship that we've had. But again, if you look at the charges placed before this committee in validating these contracts, if someone were to ask me if these two contracts were $60 million, Are you saying that they all comply with all these provisions, the 4 that I wrote for you? I'd have to say, I don't know. And if I have to say I don't know, I haven't done my job. But with that, the vote is 5-1. 5-1. It proceeds going
Thank you,
forward. We have another contract. I think that, 6-1 favor.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
just as I agree with you, and I've got something to say more about not about this in particular, but I'm going to vote no. Also, I'm going to change my vote. It's not going to change the outcome, right?
Does not change the outcome. It's contracts are approved and will proceed. Next item is number 42 on the PSC green list, and Senator Douglas has requested that this contract be pulled for some questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Secretary, I'm not picking on any of you all sitting there at the table. This is a $28 million contract. A lot of the folks who are watching us or who are learning today understand that these are contracts, but they have no idea of the amount of money that we're talking about. And I think it's important for them to know. One of the things that struck me in the contract, again, Medicaid utilization management. And I understand it's mostly federal dollars, but they're still tax dollars. Improve patient safety, improve health outcomes, and quality of care. And those have become buzzwords to try to get me more money. As Senator Meredith has asked, what parameters essentially are we using to see if any of these things are happening? Could you help me a little bit in that particular space? Because we're paying the money and we're saying we're doing a great job, and it says to improve patient safety, improve patient health care outcomes, and quality of care. Just very briefly, sir, and I don't mean to put you on the spot.
That's okay. I'm going to defer to one of my great teammates, Commissioner Lisa Lee.
Thank you for that question, Senator Douglas. This contract is for prior authorizations or utilization management for our members in our fee-for-service program. So our fee-for-service covers individuals in our 1915C home and community-based waivers and also long-term care. So this contract is for prior authorizations to ensure that the services those individuals receive meet medical necessity criteria and is also in the best interest of those individuals. We don't want to give them something, for example, any kind of medications that would be contradictory to their level of care that they need. So this contract ensures that that medical services that require prior authorization are reviewed by medical experts, and it's a wide variety. This contract covers a wide variety of medical professionals because in our fee-for-service program, we do have children up to senior citizens. And so sometimes, for example, our children in our waiver programs may need orthodontic work. So this contract does cover orthodontists. It covers, again, a wide variety of medical professionals to ensure that those services that need prior authorization meet that medical necessity criteria and is in the best interest of that individual's health outcome.
May I, Mr. Chair?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. Being in that space for the last 40 years, when you say the word prior authorization, it makes all us docs cringe, right? Right? It also gives us stomach acid when we've got a patient on a preparation that we know they're totally stable on, and then we get told that we can't use that preparation because someone smarter across the country has decided that my patient doesn't require that particular medication because they know more about Mrs. Jones than I do, which is totally ridiculous. So this is another one of those areas. I just think that we need to spend a little bit more time sitting down and talking about it, because my docs, we're killing them. We're killing them in terms of treating our patients. And there is no one size fits all, unfortunately. So when we throw in words like improved patient safety, improved patient health outcomes, and quality of care, and I know you are, because I've had this conversation with you all, and I really, really, really appreciate the fact that you all appreciate what I'm saying today. So thank you, but thank you for that explanation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas?
Tell me your name again, ma'am.
Lisa Lee.
Yeah, Miss Lee. As I look through this, I want to make sure I'm understanding this correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong. We have in our list funding source, pay schedule, and what I see is that federal is 75% and general is 25%. So by my reading of this, and again, correct me if I'm in error, that 3/4 of this contract is going to come from federal funds. Am I reading that correctly, Ms. Lee?
That is correct.
I don't have any further questions.
Since you brought up this subject, I just want to ask you a question that's kind of loosely related, not just to this contract, but even with the MCOs when we're talking about pre-authorization. There's a lot of concern and consternation now about the use of AI for pre-authorization determinations. Do we, or what kind of safeguards do we have in place to make sure that if they're using AI, that it's based on some sound methodology? Because it's a scary proposition, what's happening with AI, and we need some guardrails in place. But are you looking at that? Are we looking at that? And does it impact this contract at all?
That's a very good question. In the event that a prior authorization request is denied, there has to be a peer-to-peer review with the individual in this organization and the provider requesting. So in the event of a denial, and I don't know that AI comes into this contract, but in the event of a denial, a peer-to-peer would have to happen so that two individuals actually speak to each other. And as you referenced, Senator Douglas, no one size fits all. So the best interest of the patient is discussed between those two physicians.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, concerns, comments? Is there a motion to approve?
I guess I'm the one who makes the motion.
Yeah, it is your turn. It was in the packet, yeah.
I move.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate
I
that.
second it.
Motion by Senator Thomas is second.
Second.
Second by Representative Chester Burton. I guess she got that memo as well. So all supposed to vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
I'd like to vote no, and I'll explain my vote. It's not gonna matter how I vote, it's gonna pass, and I know you guys are doing the best you can. Just continue to do the best you can.
Senator Douglas.
I'd explain my vote.
Yes, please.
I vote aye because we're really looking at patients that we need to take care of. It's not their fault. It's the system. The system is screwed up and needs to be corrected. And I don't want to punish our public because they expect more from us to help improve the system. And I really do appreciate that. But I don't think we need to punish our public because we need to work harder. So I vote aye, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas.
I'm going to explain my aye vote. Ms. Lee indicated in the beginning of her questions that a lot of these services are going to be used for our waiver programs. And Ms. Lee, help me. I'm going to make sure I get all these initials right. There's some Michelle P. waiver program that we just added as a legislative policy, 750 new slots. There's SCL, have that right, Ms. Lee? That we again added 750 new slots there, you know. And then there's a HCB waiver program. Am I right there? Oh, I get an A for that. Thank you, Ms. Lee. That's 500 additional slots. And we did that at a cost of about $50 million. So we just did that, okay, as a legislature, passed that, put it in the budget. So if this money is going to be used to provide assistance to people on those programs, then why shouldn't we vote for this? Since we just passed this and say this is an important legislative policy, it's an important state policy for the people of Kentucky, then why shouldn't we go the next step and say, well, we want to make sure that we provide the contractual services and the medical services that they need to support that. And we're going to do that with the federal government picking picking up $3 out of every $4 that this contract calls for. To me, this is an easy yes. Okay, and so therefore, I'm going to vote yes on this contract.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes, but I'll explain my vote.
Yes, please.
Considering the fact that it's 75% funded by the federal funding, is why I think we should go with this. So yes.
Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
I'd like to explain my vote. It's very interesting that we're sitting on two sides of the table here, but we're all in agreement that we've got a healthcare system that's out of control, and I think we all agree it's not sustainable. We can't continue on the track that we have. Towards this action in the previous contracts we approved, we've authorized spending almost $100 million on nothing directly related to providing health care. And I know you hear constantly about inadequate payments for healthcare providers across the spectrum, but we're spending $100 million, got nothing to do with delivery of care directly. If we're all in agreement that the system is broken and it's got to change, when are we going to do something about it? And I agree. I'll vote yes on this contract because I know you need it as a tool to work within the current system, but the system is broken. And I'll throw out my favorite riddle again, which y'all heard 1,000 times, is 5 frogs sitting log, 3 decide to jump in. How many are left? 5, because deciding to do something is not the same as doing something. We need to do something. Give me an amen, doctor. Thank you. Contract passes 7-1. Thank you all for being here this morning.
Thank you.
Good speaking with you. Next item on the pull list are the Department of Education in our number 74 on the PSC green list, and we'll also discuss 188 on the MOA pink list. And representatives are here, frequent visitors to our committee because we like them so much. Please identify yourself for the record.
Good morning. My name is Karen Worth. I'm the Director of Budgets and Financial Management at KDE.
Hello, I am Sarah Peace. I am Policy Advisor at KDE.
Thank you for being here. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear to affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Representative Pollock has questions.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We pulled this contract basically when I saw the contract description, and it talked about providing funds to locate, identify individuals who are qualified to be candidates for our new Commissioner of Education.
Mm-hmm.
And congratulations to Dr. Robbie Fletcher.
Yes.
Actually, he started July 1.
He did, yes.
So this $65,250, that was 23 to 24 to, again.
That's correct,
Okay.
yes. The reason that we did another year on this contract is because part of the package that this firm offers includes a goal-setting exercise that will be done at the August KBE meeting with KBE members and the commissioner. So in order to be able to pay it against the actual contract, I went ahead and extended it for a year.
Okay.
We'll have some travel, but it won't be very much, and it'll be done at the end of August.
So the breakdown is, I just did a little homework here, was 44,000 of that 65 to identify who those candidates were.
Correct.
There's an extra 20,000 there. I was just assuming that maybe that was for the goal setting.
And it won't be near that amount. They'll have a facilitator that will come into the meeting and help with that exercise. So we'll pay the travel for that facilitator. So I can't imagine that it would be anything over maybe a couple $100.
So that 20,000 that was left over from last year's budget. So I'm assuming that was be enough for the goal setting.
Oh,
I was just kind of curious why we went ahead and doing this for another year. Is primarily the reason I pulled this contract.
Right, yeah, and it was to ensure that we had a payment mechanism to pay it correctly through the procurement process. We wanted to go ahead and do another contract. We just renewed it for the same amount.
I got you.
We didn't have a detailed budget from them that said the goal setting is going to be this much because it is travel. So we'll be reimbursing for mileage for the person to travel here.
Could you have done an extension of last year's? Again, Or is that something?
That's typically what this is. Basically,
Okay.
this is a renewal of that contract. We had another year to renew, so we just renewed it. We will not spend the $20,000. Once this exercise is completed on August the 7th, then this contract will be completed.
So technically, even though it says 65,250, you're saying the extra 20 we had from last contract is going to handle this in August.
That's
and then,
correct.
And then we're done.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So this contract will close with a balance on it because
Gotcha.
we will not use all of that.
And when we're talking about this, it looks like these people are coming in from Omaha, I guess, and doing all this. What are they going to bring to the table for Dr. Fletcher? And is they're going to try to teach him his goals for being commissioner, or what's that? What's that all
I
about?
think it's a combination of, and I don't know. I'm not the expert on that piece of
Okay.
it, but I can find out. But I think the process is to work together with the Board of Education members and the commissioner to maybe find commonalities and all, and to help them facilitate. It's an actual retreat in August that they're going to be working on, getting to know Dr. Fletcher and him getting to know them. So that's all I can really speak of. I can find out more detail from them if you're interested.
No, it was just kind of curious on,
Okay.
Again,
Yep.
obviously this whole common thread here in our committee is, I say Omaha, Nebraska coming in and talking about
Absolutely.
goals
Absolutely.
here to
Right.
our new commissioner. And
Absolutely.
obviously him being hired, he's got his goals
Absolutely.
and insight and obviously of what our education is going to look like. So those are some of the things that I, kind of brought to
Right.
my attention. I wanted
Right.
to kind of
Yeah,
have a
absolutely.
discussion about this morning.
Absolutely. And one piece of the RFP scoring process was how familiar the firms were with Kentucky, with the education system in Kentucky. So there is that knowledge base. But I think that this is going to be more of facilitating, not a here are the goals you should follow.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be more of a facilitator role here.
That's all I got, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Senator Boswell, you have a question, comment?
Yes, this was one of the ones I looked at. I knew it had been pulled. So, just for clarification, how much money are you asking us to spend in this particular contract?
So the total contract is $65,250. To date, we have already expended $44,805.65. So there's a balance of $20,444.35. We only have one exercise left that this search firm is going to provide to us. That will be completed on August the 7th.
Okay, why? I'm sorry, not to.
That's okay.
So why are we putting 65,000 in here if it's already been expended?
We just renewed it for the original contract amount.
I know. I understand
We can
that, but
modify it
why
down.
are we just putting it for the balance? I mean, I don't know why we're making this contract. We do this a lot. We're putting numbers for something that might happen when you just said that it wasn't going to happen. I mean, you're only going to spend like 20,000. Why are we not changing this to like 20,000? Whatever you think is going to be the remaining balance.
We just kept the original amount of the contract for the 1-year renewal. And we can modify it and we can change that amount if the committee so desires us to do that. But that is the explanation.
I think it should be modified.
Yeah,
Could we?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I guess that was my point. I was wondering if we could do an extension of last year's 65,000 to include that extra 20, which that's what you designated that money for.
That's correct.
Instead of it looking like here's another 65,000 for 24 to 25. It's kind of
Okay.
Again, that's kind of one of those
Right.
cleanup stuff, but
Right. And this is a renewal. There was one renewal that was built into the PSC, the RFP process. So this is the renewal. But we did not decrease the dollar amount down to the available remaining balance. But we can do that.
So,
if that's-
Mr. Chair, my recommendation on a motion would be to extend the 23. If we can't do that, then that's
Well, could I suggest that we just make a motion to approve the unexpended balance of the original contract?
I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we spend the
Motion,
balance.
second. All those in favor? Douglas, second. All those in favor of the motion, vote aye. All opposed, vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas. Representative Chester Burton. Representative McCool.
Yes.
Representative Pollock.
yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And
Thank you.
we'll look forward to seeing you next month. I'm sorry, I forgot about 188. I'm kind of ahead of myself here. Representative Pollock again has questions about 188.
It's my day with Department of Education. No, 188, let me get to it real quick. Obviously, it's talking about reading. If I'm not mistaken, 188. Is it reading? Pink. I'm in the green. All right, I'm sorry. So anyway, it's about reading. Reading, writing, and arithmetic, obviously, and curious to, again, when Dr. Fletcher's just getting started. So this past session, we passed Read to Achieve, Read to Succeed. My couple of questions I've got for you is, one is, this particular item, is it targeting like kindergarten to 3? What age area of this reading are we targeting in this funding?
Yes, that's correct. It targets K through 3, and the coaching model can also go up to grades 5.
Okay.
We should also have Christy Biggerstaff. She's our director of early literacy, here with us virtually as well to assist with questions.
Okay, good. Obviously, it's 1.7. I'm seeing here. It's to develop a comprehensive multi-year strategy. Again, we're going up in, why this firm? What's their?
I know that their background is with coaching and developing coaches who are able to go into schools regionally and throughout the state to execute the parameters around the Read to Succeed Act of 2022, Senate Bill 9. And that was codified under 2 different statutes. One is 158-305-10 and 158-806.
Okay. So this, as far as you targeting, again, this firm to come in and coach our coaches, so to speak, I guess the comprehensive plan, and maybe that is Dr. Fletcher or yours team, I don't know what that looks like. So it's kind of like what we've been talking about is, what's our comprehensive plan on really? And I look at the stats here, I pulled it up, we're like 25th in the country, in the middle. We're always wanting to improve. Again, when I hear reading, writing, reading is number 1. And I truly, truly believe that. And we've obviously looking at that. We've passed legislation to really focus in on this particular area. And then when we look at the 1.7, I just want to make sure why we picked this firm and then what we are going to do when they bring us the services we're paying for, and how we can become even better at what we're doing and how that's working out as far as a comprehensive plan. And maybe that's Dr. Fletcher now that he's just getting started. So anyway.
Part of it is the deliverables are provided in the contract, and there are 6 different pieces that are involved with that. And I defer to Christy in terms of selecting this vendor. I'm not seeing her name up, but
I'm here.
Oh, great. Oh, there you are. Thank you.
I don't want to break protocol, though, if I need to state my name and be sworn in.
Yes, please state your name for the record.
My name is Christy Biggerstaff, and I'm the Director of Early Literacy for the Kentucky Department of Education.
Appreciate you joining us. And yes, if you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Please proceed.
Representative Pollock, thank you so much for that question, and happy to answer that. So first and foremost, the weight of this work that you're talking about in Senate Bill 9 is something that me personally and my entire team feel. So we desperately want to help students be proficient readers and help and support our teachers to get them there. We chose TNTP, the New Teacher Project, for a very specific reason. I've been an educator in the state of Kentucky and an administrator for 20 years. My husband's a superintendent. We're well versed in needs of our districts, at least. And I learned very early in my career as an administrator that a smart leader surrounds themselves with even smarter people. So we wanted an experienced, a proven national partner with experience building out a literacy coaching model that is in the Read to Succeed Act. And the New Teacher Project has that experience. So they partnered with Tennessee for early literacy professional development and have seen increased outcomes more quickly even than Mississippi. And I know you all are well versed, and we've talked about the Mississippi model before in these meetings. So they have evidence-based practices for literacy instruction. They focused on access to grade level learning for all students and instructional guides for coaching. So they're helping basically develop our regional directors and our literacy coaches that we're going to deploy into schools this upcoming school year, and have helped us kind of build that whole literacy coaching model out.
Thank you for that. Quick question for you, I guess. You said 20 years of teaching?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay. Is that here in Kentucky?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Mind me asking what school?
Yeah, Gamaliel Elementary School is where I was an educator in Monroe County.
Yes.
You probably tell by my accent. and, and then I was an administrator in that same school, and then a district instructional supervisor.
And the reason I asked that question is you're homegrown. You know what I mean? Because you're here, you've been in here, you've been in the trenches. This is encouraging for myself, and knowing that you're in that position, you've been in there for 20 years, and so that's encouraging, because and it's just encouraging. I wanted to share that, and that's why I asked those questions for you. So that's
and my husband being a superintendent also helps me stay very in touch with the needs of local districts. I talk to school districts, educators, and administrators every single day, because it is our passion to really help and support our districts and what they need to help them be successful.
Well, and then obviously you validated, this firm working with Tennessee, Mississippi, and others. And so anyway, I mean, our whole goal here is to make sure you folks are doing your homework prior to and validating who, this $1.7 million is being spent to. And then obviously with the experiences you've had in the classroom teaching literacy, that to me personally, that means a lot. Mr. Chair, that's all I got.
Senator Thomas, you have a question, comment?
No, I don't.
All right.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yes. You said it's 188. And I'm looking, I don't see 188.
Pink list. Pink list.
Okay. All right. I couldn't find out where we were.
It's okay. I get lost too. Senator Douglas, you have a question, comment?
I do, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Biggerstaff, for being here, and thank you, ladies, for being here as well. I always go back, and I'm trying to find out how we got here. How did we get to where we are, where we need all of the remedial work for our young people? And we can talk about needs, which really are proactive, and we need to move forward. And we can also talk about causes, which take a retrospective look of why we are where we are, so that we can better lay a baseline from where to start. How much conversation, because I don't hear it, and it could be because I'm deaf, how much conversation is there in the education space, in the causes area, looking retrospectively of why do we need this now when we didn't need this so long ago? I'm just trying to better understand the big picture. So if you ladies could, or one of you all could answer that for me.
I can speak to my experience in education, and yes, there's a lot of talk about why we are where we are. And our mantra is kind of know better, do better. So now that we know better, we are charged to do better. So in my own experience in a literacy classroom in a Kentucky school, I did the best I knew how to do with the tools and the knowledge that I was given. And that's what our educators have done up to that point. But now that we have the research, now that we know better, then we have to spread that knowledge. We have to, and that's what my team is very passionate about doing.
Ms. Biggerstaff, I apologize for interrupting and I guess sometimes I do that. We still are not talking, and I'm still not hearing retrospectively how we got to where we are. We're still talking, even what you're saying, and you all are the boots on the ground, and I respect that, which is why I'm asking this question.
Sure.
We're still talking about what, we've seen this going on, and this is what we need. I as a legislator, would love to better understand how we got to where we are. In the healthcare space, I treat people all the time, but I have to understand how they got to where they are so that in the future, I can give them information, or at least I can stay ahead and try to keep them from going back. I know what I'm building on. One of the things I'd like to say is that in the legislature, I can't say that, I apologize. I can only speak for me. I'm trying to figure out how we got here in the first place, right? I don't question your sincerity, and you ladies know that. I don't question your empathy. You all know that. I'm trying to help, and I think my colleagues in the General Assembly are trying to figure out how we got here in the first place. And maybe that can't be answered today, but if I could get some of that information sometime, I would truly appreciate it. I would truly appreciate it.
I would love to share some information with you, and just like I'm sure your patients' cases are, that answer is very complex. So I would love to share some information with you. I don't know that I could delve into all of that today.
No, I don't expect that, but I would love to have that shared. Keeping in mind, I was married to someone who was in the teaching space for 30 years. So don't try to snow me.
Absolutely.
I'm not new at this.
I get it.
But I really would.
Oh, I know.
I really would appreciate it.
Yeah. I would definitely love to share at least what I know about in my 20 years being an educator, and some of the resources that I've been able to look at and listen to. I'd love to share that with you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Thomas, you do have a question.
I actually have two. One for, is it Dr. Bird, Ms. Bird?
Worth, Miss.
Ms. Worth.
Yeah, Miss Worth.
And is it Dr. Bergstrom or Ms. Bergstrom?
It's bigger staff. She's bigger staff. Miss. Yes, Mrs.
I can't hear him on this. I can hear you all talking to him, but I can't hear him. I don't know if the mic's not on.
First to you, Ms. Worth. I will tell you, every year, up until we passed this act, I would go to schools in Fayette County. And it would appall me that in the 21st century in Fayette County, there were still children who could not read. I was a strong proponent of the Read to Achieve program. And when the Read to Succeed program passed, I was one of the senators who did not vote for it, because I thought the Read to Achieve program was immensely successful in Fayette County, getting those children who couldn't read to read. But we now have Read to Succeed here. We still have literacy problems here. I mean, I just can't understand why we wouldn't want to put $1.8 million, into this program now that we've adopted it. And here again, we're talking about a policy, a legislative policy that we have adopted. We've adopted the Read to Succeed program. I mean, I can't see why we wouldn't want to do that. I mean, this makes sense, since we have it here now, to fund it so we can get those children who can't read within and without Fayette County to read. That's what you're trying to do here, right?
That's correct.
You're trying to make sure this program is a success.
That's correct. We're trying to follow the statute and the funds that were appropriated in House Bill 6 for the Read to Succeed program.
Right. And to you, Ms. Bergerstaff, I want you to know that I know where Gamelia is. It's 8 miles from Tompkinsville. If you drive 5 miles south, you're in the Tennessee border. I want you to know I've been there several times. So I know when you said you're from Gamelia, I know exactly where you're from.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's not a lot of people that can say that correctly or know where that's at.
Thank you for that geography lesson. Senator Boswell, you have a question.
I'm just make a comment, and you can reply if you like. It's clear to me part of the problem we have in here as to how we got here is a breakdown of the family. So this is, I know you've got to be seeing this if you've been an educator all these years, and this is I think one of the problems that we're having in our country. We've got to try to help solve.
Any other questions or comments? There being none, is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Motion by Representative Pollack, second. It's by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
Aye.
Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Mr. Chairman, will briefly explain my answer. This is the second time today that we've, as a legislature, passed programs and yet question funding for them. If we're going to pass acts that say we're going to have waiver program, we're going to implement waiver programs, we're going to pass acts, legislation says we want all our children to read, then you got to fund that.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't say, well, oh, we passed it and then not put money behind it. You got to put your money where your mouth is.
Exactly. So
This is another easy yes for me. I vote yes.
Representative Chester Burton.
absolutely yes.
Representative McCool. Representative Pollack.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. And appreciate y'all being in attendance this morning.
Thank you very much.
Committee members, we're an hour and a half into this meeting, and it looks like we'll go to 11, and we still got a lot of room to cover. So I would, yes.
Yes, Senator Meredith, I am going to have to leave shortly before 11. The first AI task, we heard a lot about
I'm
that.
on that as well, yes.
Okay, and I am going to be there when roll call takes place.
I'm going to try to be as well, so that's why I'm requesting everybody let's be concise in our questions and try to move forward in this. Next item on the list is with the Department of Highways, I do believe.
Good morning, Chairman Meredith. I'm Eric Pelfrey, joining you virtually. I'm our Director of Professional Services at the Transportation Cabinet, and I'm joined by several members from our Division of Environmental Analysis. They can introduce themselves.
If you would, please do so quickly.
Dave Harmon, Assistant Director, Division of Environmental.
And Brittany Lowry, UST Hazmat Section.
Is this everyone?
I believe so.
If you would, please raise your right hand. If you would, do you swear and affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We do.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it. I request these contracts be pulled because I had a question about the funding. It says from road fund, but be more specific than that. Is this the petroleum storage replacement dollars?
I believe these are just the traditional state road fund dollars, not
That's
set aside. Yeah.
Well, if we're talking about underground storage tanks and removal, why would we pay it out the road fund rather than the petroleum storage replacement fund?
The Petroleum Replacement Fund, which we are now eligible for, is a reimbursement from EEC. So, we have to do it and then we have to back into a reimbursement program from them.
So this will be eventually repaid to Petroleum Replacement Storage Fund. Is that correct?
Well, I don't know that repaid is the correct word. There's some nuances how they sometimes directly pay the contractor. But yes, we are eligible for the Underground Storage Tank Fund now, and we have been utilizing it.
All righty. Well, we've been doing this program for over 30 years. First started assessing 1.4 cents on our gasoline for storage replacement. How many years is this going to go on? Forever? Perpetuity?
Well, it's not just limited to underground storage tanks. It's other things we may find as we're building roads in the right of way. We could find underground storage tanks. We could find asbestos coated water pipe. You never know what you're going to find when you start digging.
But that would not be covered by the Petroleum Storage Replacement Fund, correct?
No, only underground storage tanks are covered under the UST program.
All righty. Well, maybe I asked the wrong people this question because it concerns me that this fund generates about $45 million a year, and for the last 10 years we have swept $185 million from the petroleum storage replacement fund to the general fund. So what I'm trying to wrap my arms around is, why do we need to continue paying this 1.4 cents? And again, I don't think you folks are prepared to answer this question today. I'll have to get for someone else, but it's just a concern to me, particularly when we're looking for dollars for bridge replacement and just maintenance of roads. It looks like these dollars could be better spent, but I think you've answered my questions. Anyone have a question, comment? If not, I'll make the motion to approve the contracts.
Second.
Motion second. All those in favor vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool. Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you all for being available to us today.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list, Department of Insurance, and our number is 116 through 125 on the PSC green list. Representatives here, please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman Meredith. This is Sean Boggs, and I am the Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Insurance. And also on is Vicki Lloyd. She is our Division Director, but she can introduce herself.
Can you all see me?
Yes.
Okay. This is Victoria or Vicki Hessen Lloyd, and I'm the Division Director. Our division, just so that you all know, we're here to protect your constituents. We monitor the solvency of over 1,600 companies licensed to do business here in Kentucky. The bottom line is we just make sure there's enough money in the companies to pay out possible claims.
Appreciate that. Not here to question the value of your department. It's to give some clarification on contracts we receive. If you would, please raise your right hand. Mm-hmm. And do you swear to affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
All right, thank you. With that, Representative Pollock, do you want to go first, or?
Sure, I can. Just a couple of questions. Obviously, I think you're validating the financial stability of these insurance companies that obviously practice here in the Commonwealth this day and time with the claims situation. I heard Commissioner Clark mention the other day that on the record, these insurance companies are taking in for every $100 of premium, they're spending about $160 out in claims. So it's kind of this financial support that obviously these companies need to have is substantial to obviously pay the claims. And looking at these contracts, there's two or three in state, outside the state. Can you just share just quickly what that looks like and why we're doing what we're doing in that whole process, please?
Well, all the contracts that you all are looking at for the Department of Insurance, there are 7 that are analysts and examiners, and there's 3 that are analyst examiners in training. And most of them are from Kentucky. There's a couple that are out of state, but they're very specialized individuals, and there's a lot of training that goes into place for these particular contracts. They have accredited financial analysis. They have AFEs and CFEs. We have people that are getting ready to train to become analysts and examiners, because a lot of ours that have been with us for many, many, many years are about to retire. And so those 3 in training, it takes 3 to 5 years to get them qualified for these very specialized jobs. And it's just our succession plan, and we're excited to have them on board.
And I'll jump in here real quick. I think 5 of the 7 analysts are from Kentucky, and the in training, 2 out of 3 are from Kentucky.
And this whole process obviously is to help with accreditation again nationally for our Department of Insurance, correct?
That is correct. And we're up for accreditation. They're going to be really monitoring us in 2025. And we go through this process every 5 years. So for the next year, we're going to be heavily scrutinized, and all of our analysis will be looked at carefully.
That's all I got, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. My question, and you may have kind of answered already, but all the contracts are $341,800 except for the final three, which are $358. So my question is, why the difference?
So we had used the original amount for those analysts and examiners, and we had, and the in training are relatively new. So their hourly rate increased a little bit to keep up with the national competition. And so we just increased it because the hourly rate went up.
All right.
They usually do not get to that point. We just have it in there in case there's emergencies with the companies and we need it. And then in case there's acquisitions or mergers or we're liquidating companies, sometimes we spend more time with a particular company.
Okay.
And yes.
All right.
But the other thing about these contracts is generally it's paid back by the industry. So we charge back our services and it comes back to our general fund.
That's a good point to make. I appreciate that. Any other questions, comments? Entertain a motion?
Motion.
Motion. Representative Pollock, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Senator Douglas. All those favorable, aye. All those opposed, vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell.
No.
Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool. Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you for making yourself available to us today. We greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item on the pool list is the Kentucky Public Pensions Authority, and it's number 228 on the green list. Representatives are here. They are. They're rushing to the table.
Good morning.
If you would, please make sure your mic is on. Green light should be lit. If you would, identify yourself for the record.
Victoria Hale, General Counsel, Non-Advocacy Division of the Office of Legal Services.
Jay Dutta, Procurement Services.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate if you raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Thank you. Senator Douglas has questions, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Easy question. $825 an hour.
Yes, sir.
Well above what we generally pay. Help me there.
These are currently the attorneys that are representing us in a securities litigation matter. One of our litigation cases. It started back in 2018. It is currently scheduled to go to trial next February. We have a discovery cutoff in September, and so this firm is who has been handling this all along. And with the specialized services, we need them to continue, and that is now the going rate for their services.
$4.2 million is this contract.
Yes, sir.
What if they come in and tell you we want $1,000 an hour?
It will be the contract price. It will be what is currently in the contract.
Okay.
It will not go above that.
Okay, I think Mr. Chairman, we really need to take a closer look at the explosion of this of what people are asking and what we're paying. I think it's really out of line. This is a company out of Wisconsin. Am I correct?
This company is.
We don't have any attorneys here, and I default to my colleagues sitting on my right down here, who are smart enough to do this type of work in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. I don't know. I understand that they've been involved in this litigation for quite some time, and you want to carry this on. But I just think in the future we need to be very, very careful in the flexibility that we allow ourselves to have in these matters.
When this RFP originally went out, there was 4 firms who replied, 2 of them from Kentucky and 2 from outside. The 2 from Kentucky actually did also receive contracts. It's just they did not have the skills for the investment part of this.
Thank you very much.
Senator, I think your points are well taken, and just for expedite this whole process, when we look at contracts 444 through 453, which I requested pull in the University of Louisville, my questions are on the same line. They're all over the place in terms of what we're paying attorney fees, and our standard of $125 an hour, it's become almost irrelevant. So I pulled these, hopefully had discussions with Senator Thomas, that we need to find some way to give some better structure to this, because I'm not comfortable approving these contracts, even though I know they're needed, they're warranted, because I don't know whether that's a valid price or not. So that's a bigger problem that you folks have no issue with at all. But again, Senator Thomas, since this is your profession, that maybe this is something you can help us with in the future, but we need to find some way to allow us to do our job. At the same token, give more structure to this than what we have, because it's pretty much whatever you want it to be.
May I respond, Senator Meredith?
Yes, please.
Okay. Senator Meredith, as you know, I will be glad to meet with you anytime. I've been by your office already once this year, and so I'm available for you and I to talk about this issue, and a number of other issues that we have to deal with in 2025. I will say this to Senator Douglas. What I try not to do, and I'm sometimes I'm tempted to raise the same concerns that he has, but what attorneys' fees are, what professional fees are, architect, doctors, I try not to question that. For example, just last year I had a lipoma. You might know what I'm talking about, Dr. Douglas. It's really fatty tissue, non-cancerous, okay, removed from the back of my neck, okay. The doctor spent 15 minutes doing that. 15 minutes, just excision, Representative Chester Burton, removing that. For that 15-minute time of doing that, he charged me $2,500. Now, I thought that was outrageous. But that's what I paid for. That was his going rate. I have heard, in certain large areas like Chicago or Los Angeles or New York City or Boston, it's not uncommon now for attorneys to charge, I've heard $1,250 an hour. That's what they're charging now in certain cases. So I can't sit here and say, Senator Douglas, just off the cuff that this is an outlier, $825. I don't know that, but I will say to you, Senator Douglas, and to you, Senator Meredith, that when it comes to attorneys' fees, I think we do need to sit down and look at what kind of guidelines and standards we want to adopt. And again, I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. I said last month when the Attorney General came here and wanted $200 million in contracts, and every one of them was out of state. I voted against that because I do prefer, and I will tell you this, my preference is always to use Kentucky attorneys over non-Kentucky attorneys. I'm a licensed attorney here in Kentucky, so that's just my preference. But there may be reasons, there may be justifications in which the going back to what I said earlier, the best fit, the best service may be by out-of-state law firm. But again, I think we need to establish that and have a strong record to establish that that's the best firm, because we can't find a Kentucky firm that meets those qualifications.
Appreciate that, folks. We got about 10 minutes left. Still covered a lot of territory. Any other questions, comments?
Just have one comment.
Yes, please.
Okay, so what concerns me about cases like this is, to me, it looks like it's kind of like a divorce case or like an estate case. It seems there's no urgency to settle this case. So it seems like it's going to go on and on and on. And it seems like when we do these contracts, I don't know how we're going to have to do it, but this thing could go on forever. And there's no really reason why this particular firm, not that there's anything wrong with them, they need to wrap this thing up. So this type of thing concerns me.
Senator Douglas for a final comment.
Thank you very much. And I really do appreciate my colleague, Senator Thomas. But one of the things I never want our public to be left with the wrong impression. In the managed care space, which is what medicine is, we don't have a managed legal space. What we charge in medicine is not what we get reimbursed. So please don't conflate the two. Please don't compare the two. They're totally, totally different. Sounds wonderful. Doesn't work that way. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Duly noted. Is there a motion on the contract to approve? I'll make that motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Pollock. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
I have to vote no, Mr. Chair.
Senator Thomas,
Mr. Chair, I'm going to vote aye, and I'm going to explain my vote.
Please briefly.
Yes, because I'm going to make another motion after we get through with this vote. This is our public pension system authority. They are doing a really good job in stabilizing and moving toward fully funding our pension system. Senator Boswell's point is well taken. You know, this can't keep going on and on and on forever. But I mean, I trust them that they think this is in the best interest of the public pension authority. I do hope that we don't see this contract next year. But again, I'm going to defer to their administrative expertise. I'm going to vote aye.
Representative Chester Burton,
Pass.
Representative McCool, Representative Pollock,
No.
Representative Hart, Chairman Meredith,
Aye, but there are not enough votes to pass the contract. With that, is there a motion to disapprove? There being none, then the contract will advance to the Finance Cabinet. Again, in the interest of time, I made reference to the University of Louisville contract, so I'd request a pull. You know my concern. I really don't have objections to the contract other than the dollar amount, but I'd like to request a motion to approve contracts 444, 445, 446, 448, 450, 452, and 453 from the PSC green list.
So moved.
Motion is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell,
No.
Senator Douglas,
Aye.
Senator Thomas,
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton,
Pass.
Representative McCool, Representative Pollock,
Yes.
Representative Hart, Chairman Meredith,
Aye. What's it called? 4 yeses. Sir Thomas, you have a question about this?
Okay, are you done with this vote?
No, we haven't
Okay, okay.
moved on this because we only have 4 votes. We need 5 to move the contracts along. With that, they're not approved, so is there a motion to disapprove? Being none, again, the contracts will advance to Finance Cabinet for final disposition. Now, Senator Thomas, what do you have?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I see University of Kentucky here. If we could move them up, because I've got a hard 11 o'clock. I got to get to AI task force. If we could call them now, I would make that motion.
Is that number 400 on the PSC green list?
Yes.
All righty, then the next item on the pull list will be with the University of Kentucky, and it's number 400 on the PSC green list.
Good morning, Tom Harris, Vice President, University Relations, University of Kentucky.
Barry Swanson, Chief Procurement Officer, University of Kentucky.
Appreciate you being here. If you would, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here. Senator Douglas has questions.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Harris and Mr. Swanson. When I look at 400, I'm looking at branding and marketing. That's a big number. $11 million. Could you help me and could you help the people of the Commonwealth understand with branding and marketing? This is not about me, right? From day one, I've said I'm just here to help educate the people of the Commonwealth so that they better understand some of the responsibilities that people have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we're looking at general fund of $11 million for branding and marketing. Could you help us with that a little bit?
Sure, and that is a cap. And this is we had just done a renewal. I mean a new RFP for this company. We have used Coronet Marketing in the past. We brought in a number of companies on this for this year, and we actually thought maybe we might go with another company. The other two we interviewed were out of state, but Coronet superseded their proposal and did an outstanding job, guaranteed their rates that they've had the last 5 years, which was encouraging. So we value that as well as using a Kentucky company. So I know you all like to see where the money is spent. So last year, the contract was for $12 million. So we've reduced it to 11. Last year, we only spent about 8. We're trying to do more in-house, but we have had the issue where we've had to come back where we overspent or we were trying to recruit more students. So most of the money, about half of the money, is utilized in media buys. And when we look at this, it's student recruitment, it's healthcare marketing, it's working with our current students to be in our housing. Our philanthropy uses some of the resources to try to raise funds as well. And so half the money is actually going as a pass-through with Cornet to media buys. We use a lot for student recruitment in Facebook and targeting those. As you all know, we are facing a decline in Kentucky students that are college ready. And so to continue to grow, we have to look at out-of-state students. Cost a lot more to market to those out-of-state students. We did a program where we spent some of these resources on a program called UK Invest, where we're helping students in financial literacy and starting investment accounts for them where they can actually earn money on those. So much of this, and we're also, athletics is part of this. One of the things we've done is consolidate healthcare, main campus, student recruiting, and athletics with one agency so we can focus with one message and save resources on that as well. While basketball tickets sell pretty well, we work really hard to market to sell football tickets, volleyball tickets, baseball tickets, and so they're a part of this mix as well.
Thank you very much. This is a 1-year contract. And again, I think our public is pretty, doesn't have a lot of knowledge about how all of this works and all the areas that are being touched. And I just want to make sure that our institutions have an opportunity to present some of those things.
Absolutely.
So thank you
I
very
appreciate
much.
that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? Senator Boswell.
Yes, I saw this contract. I guess I'm not really sure why we're looking for general funds of $11 million when I think you said that the actual expenditure last year was around $8 million.
Last year it was,
I
yes,
mean,
sir.
University of Kentucky must have if not the best, one of the best name recognition for any college in the United States of America. I mean, our athletes are getting huge sums for being paid now just to play on the team. A lot of them are elite. I mean, it's just amazing what you already have already, and it's for a general fund expenditure of $11 million. It seems like excessive based on what you did last year. I would love to see everyone. I've had some comments. I'm not going to be able to make that because we're about running behind. I'd like to see everybody look to try to get these lower numbers in the general fund budget. And so I'm failing to understand why we wouldn't be doing $8 million.
I understand that, and as I mentioned, in the past, we have had a much lower number and had to come back and burden the committee with an extension of the cost. So we've always put the cap a little higher than what we think we'll need in case we needed to recruit more students or we had to do more. You know, one of the things in the healthcare side is we want Kentuckians to understand that they can come to the University of Kentucky without not have to go to Vanderbilt or MD Anderson for cancer treatment, or to take their children to Cincinnati Children's. They can come to Kentucky Children's. And so we have to tell that story out there.
Well, I just say this, this is my last comment. I'm more interested in the people from Kentucky going to the University of Kentucky, not out of state. That is just my own view. Thank you.
Any questions, comment? Is the motion approved? Motion by Representative Pollock. Is there a second? Second by Senator Thomas. All in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell?
No.
Senator Douglas?
I'll say aye.
Senator Thomas?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to briefly explain my aye vote.
Yes, please.
Senator Boswell is right about one thing. UK now is among the top 100 universities in this country. But to reach that level, you want to stay at that level and expand for that. It costs money to do that. We do have one of the best brands in the country, but we want to remain among the best brands in this country. It takes dollars to do that. So I vote aye.
Representative Chester Burton?
Pass.
Representative McCool? Representative Pollock?
Yes.
Representative Hart? Chairman Meredith?
Aye. 4, she passed.
Kim, what's the vote?
4-1, we need, yes, Representative Chester Burton.
I'll change mine to a yes.
She's changed her vote to yes. So we have the necessary 5 votes. Contract passes. Appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Mayor.
Folks, again, my apologies, Senator Thomas, before you leave, because I know we start at 11 o'clock for this next committee meeting, but we know legislative time is really 11. I'd ask you very quickly, we got a request to defer contract 315. I'd also like to defer contract 539. Are there any of the contracts that have been full, which you folks would like to defer to the next meeting?
277 and 514.
277 and 514. So we have a motion to defer these 4 contracts. Is there a motion?
A motion.
Motion by Representative Polly, second by Senator Douglas. All those in favor of the motion vote aye. All opposed vote no. Kim, please call the roll.
Senator Boswell. Senator Douglas.
Aye.
Senator Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Chester Burton.
Yes.
Representative McCool. Representative Pollock.
Yes.
Representative Hart. Chairman Meredith.
Aye. Motion carries. All the other contracts that we have not reviewed that were pulled, obviously, will go on to the Finance Committee for approval. You folks who have been here for a long time anticipating that you would be called to testify, my sincerest apology. We did not get to you today. I did not do a very good job controlling our agenda. My apologies. We'll try to do better next time. With that, I believe we stand adjourned.